Hey beautiful souls, welcome back. So for those who don't know me and it's your first time here, a big welcome. My name is Jessie. I am a life coach. I help individuals navigate through self-limiting beliefs about themselves and about the world. I help people navigate through their blocks and barriers and stagnant energy and help them find new perspectives so they can get through to the other side. So today we're going to be speaking about the topic of grief. So let's get into it. So I spoke about one of the main things that you will go through with when you lose someone is going to be shock or denial. But not everybody goes through shock and denial, but usually that is usually the first emotion you feel. I think it's the quickest people are able to get through it. I think that's the emotion that people work through it kind of effortlessly, but I don't want to say effortlessly, but I think it's just, it has less of a hold than the other ones that you're going to embark on later on. I feel like the shock and denial actually just hits right away. Like people just don't want to, they just don't want to accept that their loved one is gone. They're in denial of just accepting certain things need to be done. Like I'm in denial that, I don't want to go and start preparing funeral arrangements, or, I'm in denial that I got to go and clean out this person's clothing and things like that. So it can take a little bit of hold of you later on in the process after you lose someone. So that's something else to keep in mind. There's no order of how you grieve. Like shock and denial might come later on in the process versus in the beginning, but majority of the time it happens in the beginning. But the denial phase can actually linger on with things like I mentioned, like not wanting to clean out the person's stuff and things like that. And you just like, no. So the one advice I can give to people who are going through that shock and denial is to be able to sit with yourself, save space for you to be able to come to that space of acceptance, right? Accepting that this person no longer is going to be around, accepting that this person no longer is going to be in a physical form around you. But as I always say, just because someone is physically gone doesn't mean they're gone. I like to think of death. Like I don't believe in death. I don't believe like death is the end. I believe that death is just a point in a person's journey that they come to end in physical form, but then they transition into spiritual form. So if you're having a hard time accepting and kind of letting go and you're in that shock and denial, just understand that no one ever is truly gone. And this is why I say it's so important to be able to hold on to your spirituality. That's a spiritual perspective, right? To understand that we are spiritual beings, right? We're here, as I always say, like our physical form, our body is our avatar, right? It's our avatar. We're here for a certain amount of time, but when we go on and transition into the next phase of our lives, we transition back into our spiritual space. Our souls, our spirit is still around, it just cannot be seen from the human eye. So that's one thing I would say, you could start trying to embrace or start reading up upon and see how you feel it fits in your life. So in the grieving process, a big one that people deal with is anger. A lot of people are angry at other relatives, other loved ones, other people in their lives. They're angry at other people who they feel didn't do enough or were the cause of someone's death. They're angry at themselves because of mistreatment or not doing enough or not being there. Like anger is a really big one, I feel, in the grieving process. Some people are mad at a higher being. They're mad at God for taking their loved one away. They're angry at the way their death unfolded. They're angry at the suffering the person had to go through. They don't understand it, and it comes out in this form of just anger, and resentment, right? They're angry that they feel that they got gypped in somehow. It's like a huge injustice that this person was taken from them. So, that's a lot of different scenarios, right? But just when we tackle anger in general, in order to combat anger, we have to come to that place of, once again, acceptance and finding peace within ourselves, right? So that's the main thing you have to do. Jump, right off the gate. When you feel so angry about you feeling like a person has got ripped away from you, or you didn't have enough time with them, or their life experiences was just unfair, there's two things to keep in mind. Number one is that, like I said, we are all here to experience life. We're all here to walk a journey. Everybody's journey is going to be different, and there's certain things in people's paths that we're never going to understand. I feel like our path has been written out for us, and certain things we have to go through, even though they're hardships and they've experienced maybe people that challenged them and circumstances that challenged them. Understand that everything someone else has been through is for their evolution. They needed that to grow, to become the person they needed to be. So never be angry about the journey that one had to endure. Even though we don't understand it, there's always a reason for it, right? So that's one thing that I feel like we should all keep in mind and embrace when you're angry of how you feel life has treated someone. And I know I went through that. It wasn't so much anger, but I just felt I got trapped in that pain. For my mom, like I said in another video, she had a hard life. She didn't have the easiest life. And one thing that kept me trapped when I was going through the grieving process was thinking of everything she had to go through, and then why did she have to get sick? Like, it just seems so unfair. Like, why did she have to get sick? Why, she's been through so much suffering, why she couldn't get to this point that she just lived like everyone else and just died like, a happy old lady, like one day in her sleep. Like, that didn't happen for her. And I just questioned why, and it just made me very sad. I wasn't angry, I just got lost in the grief of why, and just like taking on that heavy burden of all the pains and all the painful experiences she had to live through life. Then when I kind of thought about it and I really sat with myself and really thought about all her experiences, I realized that it's what she needed to go through for her to grow, for her to develop, for her to evolve, for her to deal with other phases that came up in her life, right? Like I truly believe certain things are inevitable. Like, it's gonna happen anyway, because that's the person's path. So if she would have never had a certain upbringing, she would have not been able to be a certain parent. And she wasn't a certain parent, maybe we would have not had certain challenges, and maybe we would have not been strong individuals that we are today. So that's what I mean by the story. When you take it apart and look at it from beginning to end, you start understanding why certain things have had to happen the way it had to happen, right? So that's one thing, when you get stuck in that, understand that everything happens for a reason. Whether we understand it now or not, it's always for a reason, right? And then two, I think the best way to combat anger when you feel like it's been an injustice, like this person has been ripped from you, and why couldn't you have this person for this amount of time, right? I think you have to think about it in a different way. And I went through this as well. Like, I was like, well, why my mom had to pass away at the age of 71? Why couldn't she pass away in her 90s? Like, I still needed my mom. We still wanted her here. And when I thought about it, I started thinking about other people's experiences. And this is the way you have to think about it, because sometimes we feel we've been robbed, not understanding that our experience is a blessing. Because we focus on what we don't have versus on what we had, period. So when I started putting in a different perspective, I started thinking, wow, well, I had my mom here for 71 years, right? That's something a lot of people don't get to have. Some people don't have a mom for that long. They lose their moms when they're much younger, when they're in their teens. Some you lose their moms, when they're younger than that, and they don't have their mom to go through the experiences with them of life when you really need a mom. Like when you're going through puberty and you're going through relationships and you get, you're having your first child and things like that. You always want your mom to be around. And some never get to experience any of that, right? Having your mom at a graduation, having your mom at prom. Some people don't get to experience their mom at all, right? Some people just, they have a mother that couldn't be there for whatever reason. Whatever it is, everybody has a different story, right? And if we were to look at it that way and look at what we had versus what we don't have, we start to realize how blessed we are to just have them, period, right? We actually experience them in this lifetime, and that's amazing. What they say about love, right? It's better to have love than to not have love at all. And I truly believe that that's true. Some people go through this life never experiencing love at all because they're so afraid to ever fall in love or ever let someone in. And sometimes, people's love stories are different. There's some people that you meet someone and you fall in love right away, and it's a beautiful love, but it just doesn't last long. It might be a love that was for 6 months, right? A love that was for a year versus people who have love for 15, 20, 25 years. Everybody's love journey is different. And it's the same thing with our journey with people. Everybody's journey with your loved ones is going to be different. Some people are taken before time, as we feel. Some people are taking I think everybody's taken at the right time. But for us, that's the way we feel. They're taken from us too early, too premature. But if you focus on the fact that you got to experience them in this lifetime period, that's amazing. You had a mom and they chose you to be their child. You had a spouse and they chose you to be their wife or husband. You had a friend, they chose you to experience that in this lifetime. So don't think about what you're losing, thinking about what you gain by having them in your life to begin with. And what you feel like is unfair or not enough time, some people are thinking, well, wow, that person had a blessing to have that person in their life all this time, because I wish I had that, right? So always, always, always focus on the blessing of what it was to have this person in your life. Beautiful memories that you made with them. You made beautiful music together. You had beautiful laughing moments with them. You experienced joy with them. You're experiencing having fun with them. You experience holidays with them, and that's a blessing, right? That's a blessing. Focus on the beautiful times. Don't focus on what you don't have now and they're not going to be here for the next time. Focus on all the memories you've had and all the years that you spent with this person, right? And that's one way to really, really let go of that anger, of your feeling like there was, that you feel that the defeat of that injustice, right? Focus on your blessings. Focus on the blessing of what it was to have this person in your life. And so anger, it really hits hard for a lot of people. Sometimes people are angry with a person that passed away because they're angry that they left them alone, right? It happens. It's just like people are just so emotional, right? The emotions are just spurring out from everywhere, But I know a lot of people who've told me that. I had a friend that her mom passed and she told me she was angry with God. And then I had another friend that her mom passed and she said she was angry with her mom. She left her. How dare her? Why didn't she fight harder? Why couldn't she pull it through? Were we not important enough to her? And it broke my heart, and it's just, it's just such an emotional state to go through. And I think that, once again, we have to come to that place to understand that it's not a personal attack, right? For me, I didn't go through anger, but one thing I went through is I went through a little anger when my mom was alive. That's one thing I did go through. When I took her back home, which I spoke about in my first video, I was angry that she wanted to go home because I felt like she was giving up. And I was like, why do you want to give up? You should be fighting. We want you here. Why can't you want it too? That was originally how I felt. And then when I actually took her home, I actually had a conversation with her and I felt like, okay, I felt differently. And what I actually told her was, I feel like you're tired, you're tired and I feel like you don't want to be here no more. And I gave her permission to go if that's what she wanted to do. And I actually said these words to her, on my ride home. I said, I feel like you're giving up. I feel like you're so tired and you just don't want to be bothered no more. And if that's the case and you're so tired and you want to go, I want you to know that I'm ready to let you go. And that's a conversation that it just came out of nowhere. And looking back, I felt like I said, I knew on some subconscious level, I think we both did. It was just such a weird conversations that happened right before my mom passed, and I'll share them in other videos. But yeah, I said this to her, I'm ready to let you go. I don't want you to be here if you're not happy, and I don't want you to be here just for us. And I felt like my mom really needed to hear that, right? Because she always lived for us. My mom lived for us. Everything she did surrounded her kids. She gave us so much. She gave up so much for us. She sacrificed so much. She worked hard to provide certain things for us. And I felt that was the least I can give her, was my acceptance. Like, it's okay. I will be okay. And I felt she always worried the most about me because I was her youngest. So it hit me hard. Like, she's gone. She's gone. There was times that I would wake up in the middle of the night and just like, wow, my mom is gone. You know, like, it makes me emotional just thinking about it, you know? But we go through that, you know? It's just something we have to go through, right? And in order to be able to control that anger, we have to understand that in order to have unconditional love for someone, we have to be able to let them go, let them live the journey they were meant to live, let them have their own experiences. And that's super important when, you know, you feel angry with the person that you feel has left you behind, right? Because it's not up to them, really. It's really not. And if they didn't have the strength and they were so tired, wouldn't you want them to rest in peace? Wouldn't you want them to be happy? Even if it's not with you, even if the journey of you two together has come to end in a physical form, wouldn't you want them to be happy? Wouldn't you want them to be at peace? I know I wanted that from my mom, and that's what helped me to let her go. To truly accept it was, she fought so hard, she did so much for us over the years so we can have enough. Even times when we thought we didn't have enough, we had enough, right? So for me, the biggest gift I could give to her is to let her go, to let her finally rest in peace. And if you really think about it, I know a lot of people don't think like this, but I think like this. Like, heaven is beautiful. It's amazing. Like, I know that it's amazing. And I'll share how I know in another video, but they're winning. They are winning. I know that sounds crazy to say, but I truly believe that heaven is beautiful and they are free. They're not only free from the burdens that this life has, because we take on a lot of burdens when we are in physical form, right? We take on a lot of aspects of our ego and shadow side that sometimes is not the best reflection of us. And that's one other thing to keep in mind, you know, besides the fact that they're winning and they're living their best life up in heaven, right? And I'm sure that everybody will want that for them. We get a better version of whoever we let go. Why? Because when you truly transcend and you go up to, you know, the higher realms to be with your creator, your savior, you are stripped from all of the burdens, all of the pain, all of the physical pain, all of the emotional pain, all of the spiritual pain, all of the spiritual darkness that has leached onto us. And you get a better version of this person that's out there in spiritual form protecting you. Now, how amazing is that? How amazing is that, right? I feel blessed to have now this amazing guardian angel looking over me that just wants nothing but the best, that's stripped of ego, that's able to love me even more. And that's how you have to think about it, right? You didn't lose this person. You didn't lose them. You just can't see them. And then they transcended into something that's much beautiful. Not only much beautiful, but much more powerful. And if you thought that they were protecting you while they were alive, watch out. Watch out. Watch out for anyone who's even trying to look at you with an evil eye. Watch out for anyone who's trying to spit, you know, venom and bad juju towards you, because you have someone looking out for you, right? So embrace the unconditional love for them and release that anger, right? And just know that they are in a better place. They are in a better place, and it's going to be best for them, but it's also going to serve you in the long run. I think the third one that gets a lot of people stuck is guilt. The emotion of guilt. And I'm gonna put guilt and regret in the same category, even though they are different. But I feel like one piggy banks off the other. Usually when you start having guilt, it is welcomed by regret. You feel the guilt first of, I should have done this, I should have done that, why didn't I do this, why did I do that, why did I say this, why didn't I blah blah blah. And then after you feel that guilt, you go directly into the phase of regret, of I wish I would not had done that. And a lot of people get stuck in guilt and regret. And I said this in a past video, that guilt and regret only serve one purpose, and that's to help you become a better version of yourself. And we can feel guilty and regretful of so many things. And I spoke a little bit of the things I felt guilty and regretted, and one big one was of how I didn't go pick up my mom. That was a big one for me when she asked me to, and I felt like if I would have went to go pick her up, things could have been different. Would have been different, you know? And that was something that kind of kept me in the loop. And I was like, I should have gone together. I should have gone together. Why didn't I go together? Any other time she would have asked me, I would have went there right away, right? This is what I say to you. If you didn't do something, there was a bigger reason behind it, right? It's because it wasn't meant to be said then. It wasn't meant to be done then. It just wasn't meant to happen. For whatever reason. For me, in my specific case, I feel like I wasn't meant to go get her, right? Because like I said, any other time I would have ran over there and go get her. That's the way it's always been. Come get me, okay, boom, I'm there. But this time I actually didn't go, and then I made plans to go get her, and then I didn't get her in time. She wound up passing away before I was able to go pick her up. Now, in my inner core, my inner being, my inner wisdom, I know that that's the way it was meant to be. Things always play out the way it's meant to play out, right? And so I didn't do it because that would have probably just changed the trajectory of how it would happen. And if it would not happen then, or in her house, it would have happened here in my house, or if not here in my house, and we would have bought her time, it would have happened eventually, and maybe it would have happened with her suffering. That's one thing my mom didn't go through. She did not suffer. And so I had to look for, you know, the cherry on top. Why did it happen the way it happened? That was kind of my thought process. Like, why didn't I go get her? Why? And I searched for that answer, and that's what I came up with. You know, it's like an inner knowing of you would have changed nothing. And if you would have changed the trajectory and try to like rob her of her own fate and experience, it would have happened on a grander scale, and most likely she would have suffered. She would have not went so easily, and then you would have suffered because it would have been done right. You know, I would have been the one to find her, and that would have been something maybe not so easy for me. So maybe it was meant to be experienced in her house, and I spoke about how my brother found her, so maybe my brother was the one to be able to find her, because maybe he would have been the person to deal with it better, right? So I believe that everything happens for a reason. There's a deeper meaning, there's a deeper purpose. Sometimes we don't know what it is, but it is there, and it's there to protect us, it's there to serve us, even sometimes if we don't think so. If it's not there to do that, it's there to help us grow, right? But we have to be able to embrace that. So guilt and regret serves no purpose. Once again, it only serves for the purpose of us getting to that place that we start seeing things differently, right? And we change what we change of how we would have behaved, how we would have acted. You have the opportunity to change and grow. That's the only purpose that guilt and regret serves. Why? Because we can't go back in time. We can't go back in time and undo what we have done. We can't go back in time and change behaviors. We can't go back in time and change our actions. We cannot go back in time and change our decisions. We cannot go back in time and change the way we spoke to someone. We can't go back in time and change the way we treated someone. We cannot go back in time and change the time that we didn't spend, with them. We cannot go back in time. We just can't. It's impossible. We don't have a time machine. So the only thing you can do is just look at what you feel, you have guilt and regret for. And if it's something that you cannot come to terms of why it happened the way it happened, it's because you are meant to feel what you feel regretful and guilty of and change it, right? We always have the opportunity to change and grow. And as I said in the other video, death is a process of evolution. It's a process of transmutation, right? It's a process of transition. Not only does the person transition out of our lives and into a different role that we don't see, but we could feel, right? They transition into, they're still there for us, but just in a different way. It's a transition for you. It's a transition for me, myself, that, I went through the grieving process, and then like I transitioned because of all these things that, I went through, right? We go through this grieving process and it teaches us, it's growing us, it's helping us to become a better person. So whatever you feel guilty and regretful for, you have more days, more time with other people to act it out and change what you felt you should have delivered in the past. You still have the future to be able to change that. Now, a big one that people get trapped in is depression. This is a hard one because I feel like everybody goes through some form of depression. And the way that you're going through depression is you're going to start feeling tired. You're going to start feeling drained. You're going to start feeling like you want to sleep more. You're not going to want to be around the people that you normally want to be around. You don't want to do the things that you normally want to do. You're going to want to be, in bed all the time. You're going to feel sluggish. You're not going to feel like you have motivation and you're not inspired to do anything. You don't want to go nowhere. You just want to be left alone, right? And I think depression is a natural progression of the grieving process and of the mourning process just in general. When you lose something, no matter what it is, not even a person, you could lose like a job, you could lose a relationship, whatever it is. Depression becomes a part of that journey, right? Because it's something that we love, someone that we love that is gone now in the physical form. So certain things we will never be able to do again, right? Like hear their laughter, feel them, hug them, kiss them, spend time with them, make additional memories. We won't be able to do that again. So it's natural to feel extremely sad and low and mourn that, right? What you want to be careful with regarding the depression is that you're able to pull yourself out of it. You have to monitor your depression and you have to monitor your mental state and your mental health. And that's a hard one when you're going through so many emotions and you feel this great grand scale of loss. But it's so imperative that you do it, because if you don't do it, you can actually go down this, tunnel and not be able to dig yourself back up. You don't want to do that, right? And your loved ones don't want you to do that. They don't want you to be in a state of despair forever. They don't want you to lose things around you. They don't want you to lose your joy and your laughter and your excitement for life, right? I think it's understandable that there's going to be a temporary hold on those things, but you don't want to lose sight of who you are and what you're capable of. And I went through this. I didn't go through a depression in a large scale because I know the signs, right? As a person in the mental health field and coaching and things of that sort, I already know the signs. I already know how it feels when, I'm slowly losing grounding. So I did my absolute best to make sure I was taking care of me, even days when I felt like I couldn't do it. And this is what I'll tell people. When you feel like you can't do it, let yourself not do it. Give yourself cheat days. And that's what I did with myself. When there's times that I'm like, I just don't have the energy. I just don't have the strength to go here. I don't have the energy and strength to deal with this. Today I just want to be alone. So I'm going to be alone. I want to be alone for a week. I'm going to be alone for a week. I'm going to be alone for a month. I'm going to be alone for a month, right? I allowed myself a certain amount of grace within that period of mourning to feel low, to feel just sluggish, to feel like I just need to rest. Because the truth is, when you mourn and you go through the grieving process, you need to be able to do that. You need to be able to renew yourself, renew your spirit, renew your hope, renew your faith. It's a time of healing for you, right? And you have to understand that, but you have to understand that you can't stay there. That's the most important part that you need to understand. You cannot stay there. So give yourself some days to feel like that, absolutely. But when you feel like it's consuming you, that's when you need to be aware, right? And if you can't do it for yourself, have someone check in on you, right? Have someone be able to come around and say, hey, let's go do this, let's go do that. For me, I did it for myself. When there was times that I felt like I was sleeping too much, I would just get out of bed and just take a shower and at least do like one task for that day. When I felt like, the walls were caving in on me, I would go out and I would take a walk. One thing that helped me is I have a dog, so I actually have to take him out 3 to 4 times a day, and he is my responsibility, and I didn't put that responsibility on anyone. And I would get up and I would take him out, but I also would take him to places like, it's winter now, so it's pretty cold in the East Coast. But when my mom passed away, it was winter actually, but we were coming into the spring and summer. So I was able to, go to the lakes and spend some time by the water, because the water is super healing, right? I was able to get out in nature. I would take a hike. I would make sure that I was moving my body. Right? And that leads me to my next phase of the depression state, of the grieving state. But it does come after usually the depression, is feeling isolated and feeling lonely. Especially when you lose a parent. There's something to be said. It's like a different form of loss, especially when you lose a mom. Our mom is our first friend. She's the one who birthed us. We have a connection on a soul level to our moms, and a mom delivers caring and nurturing like no one, right? Like, there's a sense of home when you're around your mom. There's a sense of security when you're around your mom. Like, it doesn't make a difference how old you are. I know that I would call my mom for everything that happened to me. It was like, I'm gonna call my mom. I'm like, someone cut me off on the highway, first person I call is my mom. I just won, a grant, I'm calling my mom. I'm booking a vacation, I call my mom. I will go on vacation, I'm like, I gotta call my mom, right? So that's the relationship and connection we had, right? So when you lose someone that's so important, it's been such a heroic figure in your life that has made you who you are, it's huge. You feel this huge sense of loneliness, right? It's a loneliness, it's just hard to describe unless you actually had a connection with a parent like that and then you lost them. But it's a deep sorrow that you can't really explain, and no one in anything that you it just can't be replaced. Nothing can go in their place. Nothing or no person can just take their place. It just doesn't work that way, right? I know for me, I felt that. I felt super alone. And I'm an independent person. I've always standed on my 2 feet. I do so many things alone, and I've been alone, I've lived alone. Half of my life I've been single, when I wasn't in relationships, I've been alone and I had no problem doing it. I'm like, I'm good, right? For 2-3 years and I'm good, I just never was that person that needed another person to make me feel fulfilled or happy. I just go do my own thing, and I never felt alone. I never felt lonely, and that's a concept a lot of people they struggle with. Like, when they're alone, they feel lonely, and they're 2 different things. You could be alone, like a single person, and not feel lonely. You could live alone and not feel lonely. Some people struggle with that, but for me, I never struggled with that. But then when my mom passed away, I felt extremely alone. Even though there was millions of people around me and everybody like, hey, I got you, what do you need? I'm here for support. It just wasn't the same. I still felt alone, right? And of course, I don't think that's something that anyone can help you through. I think that's just one of the things that you actually have to feel. You have to go through those emotions, and I think that's a releasing process of part of accepting and letting go and coming to terms with of that. It's never going to be the same again. And that's something that happens after you lose a person. When you lose a person, there's this sense of nothing's ever going to be the same ever again, if this person has played a big part of your life. And it's unfortunately true. Your life changes after a huge loss, especially of someone who's been such a prominent figure in your life. It changes. It just changes. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't control it. It's out of your control. And you know it on a deep, profound, hardcore level that your life and everything in your life and everything as you have known it is going to change connections you may have with people surrounded to that person, that's going to change. People that you normally saw when you had that connection to that person is going to change. Like for instance, if you had a spouse and they passed away, the relationship with their family and maybe family gatherings and things like that may not be the same. That's what I mean. Like, on a deep, profound level that your life, it just changed forever. And that's hard. It's just hard to realize when you got to all these other emotions that you're going through, and you're so overwhelmed, and you feel like you're being hit with all these realities out at so many times, like boom, 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 boom. And that feeling like if you're that person that had a parent or you had a spouse and you relied on them, it's just all these realities are coming. It's just so many things that just comes at you like a ball of fire, and you can't do anything about it. The only thing you could do is just sit there, hold space for it, feel those emotions, let it run through you, go through that accepting process, and just accept it and let it go. And a lot of people go through the bargaining phase. I personally didn't go through that, but I know a lot of people go through it. Some people go through it before the person passes away. Like if the person is struggling, like if they're sick and it's not something that comes as a shock, or it is a shock but the person's still like on a breathing respirator and things like that. A lot of people go through this bargaining phase, and the bargaining phase is all about swapping one thing for another. Like, I'll give up drinking and I'll be the best person, I'm never gonna sin if you save this person's life. So I think that's that point when you start, I'll give this up if this returns to me, right? Or the bargaining phase of, if you make this pain go away from me, this pain of the grieving process, I'll be, the best person ever. I'm gonna give up smoking, I'm gonna give up drinking, I'm gonna give up sinning, I'm gonna give up gambling, whatever it is, that the person feels that it's been a negative force in their life. You know what? Bargaining could be kind of a good thing if you allow it to be, right? Because there are a lot of people who, after they have a loss, like I said, they go through that guilt and regret process, and they realize that there's a lot of things in their life that they need to change, right? And they start coming to this place of acceptance and realization, and doing a thorough check on their own life and their own habits and their own patterns, and then realizing, like, I need to give this up. Like, I should have not done this, I should have not done that, and now I want to be a better person. So that phase doesn't have to be or negative. It could be something beautiful that comes out of it. I mean, that's pretty much like the grieving process. It takes time. That's what I would tell someone. It took me 3 months to feel at a place that I started feeling better. For the first 3 months, I didn't sleep at all. And I still have trouble sleeping. And it's been 7 months since my mom passed away. I think now that the holidays are here, her birthday just passed. Her birthday was on November 30th, and then Thanksgiving was right before that. My birthday is 2 weeks after her birthday, so my birthday is on December 14th. And then after December 14th is Christmas, right? So it's like a week and a half, and after that's Christmas. So I think that, it's like all these holidays and special events that my mom would have been present at for me. So her memory and the memory of what happened, it comes back up, right? And so I spoke about it being kind of like a roller coaster, the grieving process. We're always going to be sad about the loss of this person, right? It's just something that doesn't really go away. It just calms down as time goes on, right? We learn how to master our emotions a little bit better. The emotions are not as heightened because as years go on, they just kind of mellow out. We learn to temper our guilt and regret, and we learn to come to terms with them. We learn to get out of that depression state and come to terms with what has happened, and I can't stay here, right? I have to continue. I have to move on. And like I said, you come to that point of that realization that this person would not have wanted this life for you. And that's so important to remember, because I think a lot of people get stuck in that phase, in that depression phase, because they feel like this person's life is taken, and by letting go of those deep emotions that are keeping us trapped, we let go of the person. Like, if we start to enjoy life again and laugh, and we're not doing it with them, or the fact that they can't do it with us, that life has been stricken from them, we're taking from them in some sense, but we're still here enjoying it. We feel a sense of grief when we do that. It feels like unfair, like that's not the way it's supposed to be. And if I'm enjoying myself, that means I love the person less, right? That's kind of some of the stories that we tell ourselves in our head. And I'm here to tell you that it's untrue. It's just not true. Just because we go on with life, which is what we're supposed to do, doesn't mean that we love that person less. It doesn't mean that we forgot about them. It doesn't mean that we don't think about them. It doesn't mean that we have truly let them go in that sense, like let them go from our heart. The only thing we do is we let go of the emotions that keeps us trapped. And that's exactly what we have to do. We have to be able to come to that space that we look ourselves in the mirror and say, I am still alive, I am still here. And there's a reason for that, right? If there was no reason for you to be here, then you would be gone. Your journey will be over. You will have met your destiny, and it will be gone. It will be over for you, right? So that's how you have to think of it. There's something here I'm still supposed to be doing. There's something here I'm still supposed to be learning. There's something here that I was still meant to grow and still meant to share with people, and experiences that I still have to experience, right? This person, their time has come. They have experienced all they were supposed to experience, right? Whether we agree with it or not, that's what it is. So we have to come to that state of saying, I am going to embrace and accept that part of what the higher, what my higher being has planned for me, right? And doesn't mean that I love this person less. It just means that I take them with me in a different form. You want to talk to your parent, you want to talk to your loved one, you want to talk to whoever you lost, talk to them. They're listening. Talk to them. I talk to my mom all the time. Not only do I talk to her, but I also receive messages from her, and that's a whole nother video. But when you get really deeply aligned into your spirituality and you become very grounded and you become in tune with source and yourself and finding peace, and you quiet your mind, yes, you're able to get that inner guidance from your angels and your guides. So nothing is ever lost. Once you start understanding that, you'll start shifting your perspective. Nothing's ever lost. This person's not gone. You're just not able to view them with the human eye, but you'll be able to feel them. So just know that there's no such thing as death. Change your perspective of how you view death, right? Change your perspective. Understand that the way they have left in transition was part of their evolution, was part of their story, was part of their journey. It was already written out for them. There was nothing you can do or anyone else can do that could change the trajectory of that. And if you would have done anything to change that trajectory of their story, it would have still lived out some way, somehow, because we can't cheat death. We just don't have that power. Like I've said it before in another video. We're just not that powerful. We're not more powerful than the higher being who writes our story. The way we got here was not up to us, and the way we depart and leave, it's not up to us. It's just we have no control over it. So guys, I hope this video helped you find a little bit of perspective, help you find a little bit more grounding. If you are struggling with the grieving process, I do offer coaching now for the grieving process, so you could definitely hit me up, look up my information, and if you want to start coaching with me, I can provide that information. Never give up hope, never give up faith. I know it's hard, I know you're hurting, I know it's a heartbreaking experience, but I promise you, you will get to the other side. Through every darkness, there is a light. Always, 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 always. And with that light comes knowledge, and with that knowledge comes wisdom. And I'm living proof of it, right? I'm here. And if you would have seen me 6 months ago, you would have known I wasn't in the best state. I wasn't in the worst state. And what actually kept me not, diving deep in there was because of my perspective. Once you change your perspective, everything changes for you. Okay, so I will see you in my next one. Love and light.